Hey gamers, Minus10 here. In this video, we're going to review the Corsair MAKR 75 from Corsair's Custom Labs, which is an offering from Corsair to customize headphones, keyboards, and a lot of its other gaming gear. At its announcement, I registered my MAKR 75 pre-order on May 19th, and the board delivered about a month later. I'll go into why it has taken me so long to record this review, but to save you some time, the MAKR 75, it's 100% hard pass. Before we get into this review, I do want to clarify, I purchased the MAKR 75 with my own money, which I wish I could get back, and the opinions in this video are entirely my own. The Corsair Custom Labs buying experience is pretty straightforward, and for the MAKR 75, Corsair allows you to choose the case color, switch plate, switches, keycaps, and a volume knob or LCD screen. At the end, buyers can choose to have Corsair pre-assemble the MAKR 75 or receive it and do it yourself. When it arrives, the MAKR 75 lands in a beefy box and comes with a carrying case, extra switches, keycaps, pads, screws, and a screwdriver. The extra switches are a nice touch, but all the other stuff, I'd argue just to get rid of it. Eliminating all these extras would enable Corsair to offer the MAKR 75 at a much lower price point, and that would be appreciated. Let's start with the positive. When it comes to switches, I still prefer a good mechanical switch as they just feel and sound better. And personally, I'm never going to be a hyper-competitive first-person shooter gamer that needs Hall effect switches. Now, I bought my MAKR 75 with the MXL Pulse Stocky switches. These switches are pre-lubed, 5-pin tactiles, and I ordered also the FR4 plate. Now, I had to do some digging, but the Corsair MXL Pulse Stocky linears are a 45-gram switch, and that's what they feel like. When you package everything together, the switches, the plate, case housing, and 8 layers of sound dampening, the MAKR 75 has a pretty decent sound and feel. I mean, I gamed and worked on this keyboard for months on end. Now, the switches don't have a true thock, but overall, the MAKR 75 has a pretty decent sound. I ordered my MAKR 75 with the PBT dye-sublimated keycaps in the Eclipse color scheme. Through the Custom Lab, you'll have plenty of options to choose from when it comes to keycaps, but I went with a set of Corsair's more standard options. As with the keyboard sound, the keycaps are very nice, and each keycap has enough graininess to feel good under the fingers and keep the grease non-visible. If I were to change one thing, I would recommend Corsair add a bit more grain and texture into future versions. Okay, with the positive out of the way, let's talk about where the MAKR 75 falls short. With the keycap fonts on the top, the switch RGB is also north-facing. Although the RGB permeating from the switch appears bright enough, when you put a keycap onto the MXL Pulse Stocky switch, the overall effect is a bit muted. To control the MAKR 75's RGB brightness, you have to purchase the rotary dial and then use the option to adjust the keyboard's RGB in iCUE. Now, that's clunky. Ultimately, the MAKR 75's limited RGB is not a major deal killer, but if you're looking for an RGB keyboard that has a lot of razzle and dazzle, well, this is not the keyboard for you. When I placed my order, I did request the LCD screen as I control my PC's audio from a Rodecaster Duo. Now, to my surprise, when I opened the package, I had the rotary dial. Not sure what happened. Honestly, the dial is quite nice with a very noticeable click between each turn and a very pronounced click when pushing the button in. But for me, it's completely useless. I could have returned it, but this is my review unit, and I base my review on what I receive. Corsair took a different approach with the MAKR 75's feet, which are magnetic inserts. You can either leave the feet in for a modest angle or remove them to lie the keyboard flat on your desk mat. The MAKR 75's aluminum chassis feels very nice and sturdy, but it's also not that heavy, so I'm not sure why Corsair didn't include built-in feet that have a couple angle options. For keyboards in this weight range, that's a pretty standard feature nowadays, and why Corsair didn't go this route is an odd design choice. And now we reach one of two deal killers. The MAKR 75 comes with 3 connectivity modes: wired, 2.4 gigahertz, and Bluetooth. 2.4 gigahertz is pretty much the standard connectivity mode for gamers who want a wireless keyboard, but mine never worked. At first, the MAKR 75 connects to the dongle and works fine, but then it quickly loses connectivity or sticks a key and repeats it endlessly. It was really annoying. At first, I thought it was a bad switch, but that wasn't the problem. Then I thought the MAKR 75's 2.4 gigahertz dongle was conflicting with my Corsair Scimitar mouse, which uses the same type of dongle. But again, this wasn't the problem either. At this point, I just put the keyboard on ice, put it on the shelf, and waited for firmware updates from Corsair. After months of firmware and IQ updates, the problem still persists, and the only way I can use the MAKR 75 is in wired mode. Needless to say, this is a defective board and makes the MAKR 75 non-usable, as I always prefer to game and work wirelessly. The next very odd design choice is trying to understand when the MAKR 75 is on or off and connected wirelessly or not. I mean, I just don't get it. The on-off switch has no light indicator, so you have to trial and error to know when the keyboard is on. Bizarre. Now, even when I use the MAKR 75 wirelessly, which I did figure out, I don't know what a connected light means. White means you're connected? I don't know. I could never get the wireless function to work properly. The second deal killer came when I purchased this board. After kitting out my MAKR 75, the grand total with taxes was $352. I mean, that is wild. I bought the MAKR 75 to review it and then possibly use it for work and gaming. When it works in the wired mode, the typing experience and gaming, it's not bad. It's actually quite good. However, the MAKR 75 is not $350 good. There are endless better and more affordable options in the market at a fraction of the price. When you add in the faulty 2.4 gigahertz dongle, the muted RGB, and limited height adjustments, there's just no way I can recommend this keyboard. If you're a Corsair fan and want a 75% gaming keyboard, go with the K65 plus 75%. It's a very solid keyboard and it works flawlessly. I still use mine from time to time. So to wrap this up, the MAKR 75 is an overpriced and faulty money pit that is a hard pass. The keyboard housing, MXL pulse Stocky switches, and the keycaps, along with the sound dampening, all make for a decent typing experience. But that's where the good ends. My unit's 2.4 gigahertz dongle failed to work even after multiple firmware updates, and this made the MAKR 75 basically useless for me as I game and work wirelessly. When you add on the muted RGB and limited height adjustments, it just accentuates what Corsair is trying to do. Basically lean into its brands to overprice gear and then skimp a bit on production quality. If Corsair is your brand and you want a 75% keyboard, go with the K65 plus 75%. It's everything the MAKR 75 is trying to be at about a third of the price. If you found this video helpful, I'd appreciate a like on the video, and if you'd like to follow me as a content creator, go ahead and click on that subscription button. If you have any comments or questions, please post them down below. I always appreciate what the community has to say. Thanks for watching.